The Entrepreneur MBA podcast purpose is to help existing business owners grow their companies past the $10 million in revenue per year benchmark. Here is your host, Stephen Halasnik.
Welcome everyone, my name is Stephen Halasnik and I'm co-founder of Financing Solutions. Over the last 25 years, I have built 6 companies in the $5 million to $25 million range. And I can't tell you how important it is for businesses to have a line of credit so they can make an investment in their business or even for unexpected emergencies. Our line of credit program is easy to get in place, inexpensive when used, and costs nothing to set up, making it a great cash backup plan. If you'd like to learn more about our line of credit program, please visit us at fscreditline.com. That's FS as in Financing Solutions, creditline.com, or give us a call at 862-207-4118. If you apply today, we will even give you a $250 credit on file. Just remember, the time to set up a line of credit is when you don't need it, so that when you do need it, it's ready to go and you're approved. Today, I am very excited to be speaking with Joey Myers from Lead Generation SEO Services. Joey has extensive experience in digital marketing and runs a search engine optimization agency called Lead Generation SEO Services. By writing Amazon best-selling books, which, by the way, has grown his business threefold, Joey has also grown his email list from 3,500 to over 100,000 subscribers in a 3-year time frame. Joey has also sold over 30,000 online video courses, books, online lessons, and drop shipping products. Joey, welcome to today's Entrepreneur MBA podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Steven. I appreciate it.
So, you know what, the advantage I have of being the podcaster is I get to pick topics that I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. And because I run a small business like everybody else, or run a couple small businesses and have done so, I get to pick ones that usually people are kind of interested in, mm-hmm. right? So, you know, today's topic is something that's been like on my agenda. It's not that we don't do this already, but we don't, you know, I'm always trying to learn more, of course. And today's topic is how to grow an email list from thousands to hundreds of thousands. And, you know, we're probably going to get a lot of listeners on this because I think that's part of everybody's agenda, mm-hmm. At least part of it. So, you know, maybe you could start off by telling us a little bit about, you know, how you got, not how you did it, but why you thought building an email list was going to be so valuable to you.
Yeah, well, Stephen, great question. And the big one is I talk to friends or just other businesses that we work with that have products, say, on Amazon, and they're selling books on Amazon, or they're selling products, just good old widgets on Amazon. The problem with that is that Amazon gets all that information, gets all your customers' information. Now, if you're running a Shopify store or something like that, you will get access to that info. But for those sellers that are just on Amazon, you're not getting any of that. And what we want is we want to capture that, especially the emails. If we can get the emails and the phone numbers, that'd be great. But emails is a big one because you can, like this last weekend, I had my 41st birthday. And we did, for my baseball, softball hitting website, hittingperformancelab.com, we did just a birthday send. It was a 41% off digital on our digital products coupon code. And I have access to all those people. I can email them whenever I want. And we made, I think, maybe $500, $600, $700 in just probably an hours work of time over the weekend, just concocting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 emails to go out each day. So it's nice to be able to access that information from your customers. And plus with Facebook, those that are marketing on Facebook or aren't yet spending money on Facebook, is you can take those emails and create what are called lookalike audiences. And what's cool about that is you can access the billions and billions of users that Facebook has, and it will take those emails and match those emails to others that are like those people. The interests are like those people. So with emails, you can do a lot of different things. Phone numbers would be a step above, but emails are great.
What do you do? Is the phone numbers similar to the email addresses in regards to Facebook, or do you do something else with the phone numbers?
Well, the phone numbers are nice because you can use them through SMS and text message, and you can market them because people, one of the big things with email was getting really stagnant because everybody was emailing customers and they were getting, everybody out there probably has gotten every email from anybody. And so it's hard and you have to discern what are the right emails or not. Then they moved to the Facebook Instant Messenger. So there's programs like AI bots and things like that you can use on your website that are maybe help bots, right? Artificial intelligence. And you can interact with those people on your site or have the bot interact with people. And now you can contact those people through the Facebook Messenger. And that way your message is getting to your customer outside of the email barrage of emails that everybody's getting. They're like a 90% or 80% open rate on that instant messenger. Well, people always have their phone on them. And if they have their notifications turned on, they'll get those messages. But then if you have their email and your text messaging, that's even better than the messenger app, because most people are going to have their notification for their text turned on. So it'd be more of a SMS or text play than anything having their phone number.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be a little bit of a devil's advocate
Sure.
on in this, and in regards to, text is kind of a sanctuary thing.
Yeah.
I think to me, if I get really pissed, and I don't get any, I really don't get any solicitations really through text very often, so that's good. But I would be very reluctant to ever text a bunch of people. Now, I do have the ability to text people when they fill out an application online, and I use that sparingly if maybe we're having trouble hooking up, talking. But I mean, what's your thoughts on that subject?
No, you're exactly correct. I wouldn't advise anybody to take a cold list of email or phone numbers and just start SMS texting them, because then it's almost like everybody loves those people that show up at your door and try and sell you solar or sell you something, right? Those door knockers, or the info callers that call you and they're trying to sell you something, right? It's the same idea. And that's a numbers game. I don't know what the percentage of conversion on that is, but door knockers, things like that, it's got to be well below 1% of them actually getting people. So I would never advise. I think for me personally, it's a waste of time. For others, it isn't. You have call centers that are dedicated to that kind of stuff. And there's a whole business that surrounds the cold call and the door knock and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying that's bad or whatever. But for me, I would rather put my time, and it sounds like you too, Stephen, you'd rather put your time in different things. So you're talking about getting an email through a application that a customer pulls in. I have an e-commerce store. When somebody buys something, they give me their email. They give me their phone number, email and phone number. So in that sense, for updates, product updates, things like that is a great thing. I don't do a ton right now of SMS where you're going out proactively versus what we're talking about is updating the customer on their order and things like that. But just having the phone numbers is good too, just because it's an asset. And if, say, along the line, a business wants to sell their business, that's an asset that makes the business more valuable if you have customers' emails or phone numbers or whatnot.
Take me back 3 years ago when you were just starting to collect email addresses, so to speak, and how it went through, like how you grew, not the list, how you grew your strategy. I mean, at first, what were you doing? And then how over the years, like how did it become more sophisticated? So for example, I think this is my third year of doing these podcasts. And I think this is like my 70th or something like that. So, every single time I do one, relatively, I learn something new and I improve it. And, I've gotten better at it since my first one. There's been a progression of, learning. If you can remember back to 3 years when you started saying, hey, collecting emails is important. How can I do that? Tell me, how you first started, and then over a period of time, what were some of the things that you learned over that period of time?
Right. Good question. And so 3 years ago is when I really amplified. I really, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Before that, it was all search engine optimization. It was early on search engine optimization. It's changed a little bit more over the last few years. And that was the only channel that I was using. It was good. I was creating content, and this predates hittingperformancelab.com. I had another site called swingsmarter.com. That was the info that I was teaching then is after, it was night and day what I teach now on the site. So I was doing a lot of SEO, a lot of content, and we grew a list. We had about a 3,500 or so at the time, but it would be, I would add 5, and then I would drop 6, and I would add 5, and I would drop 3. It was just, it didn't get any bigger at that point. So then I thought about, okay, went on to digitalmarketer.com. I'm a big fan of theirs. And there were a couple courses on there. I don't know if they still have them up, but they have courses like that where it was Facebook marketing. And 3 years ago, Facebook, you could get a good organic following by just having a fan page. People would show up, you put good content up, and Facebook would push your stuff out there. And now it's not so much. So we have to be a little bit smarter with Facebook ads and things like that. And you just don't get that organic anymore. So what I started doing was I started running ads on Facebook. And I took that first year that my list went from 3,500 to 15,000 within that first year. And people out there, you have to understand, and I'm talking about my baseball softball niche, which is the baseball softball niche, which is smaller than what you're talking about, Stephen. You're in financial, right? That's a much bigger market. So we're talking a very small market that niche wise than compared to some of the others people listening on this, I'm sure. So we took that list and we blew it up to about 15,000 within probably a 4 or 5 month span, because that's what the baseball softball season is. It's generally February, March. March is about when the Little League season starts. And then until about June is about that. That's the season. So 6 months, 4 to 6 months is what we're talking. So the first year. And then the second year, we just kept doubling or tripling what we had in our email, the amount of emails that we had gotten, and over that span. And then publishing a book in January 2017 that ended up, after a year, became a Amazon bestseller in the baseball coaching niche. That just tripled things. So it was almost like a domino effect. The Facebook ads were a big help, and that really helped the way we had our funnel really grew the list. But then the book really helped grow the list as well, which we were also advertising on Facebook.
The type of material that you're sending out to people, I could see where it's pretty sticky, honestly. People who are in any type of sport, their kids or their parents, they're trying to read everything they can up on it. They see something that you're getting. I could imagine that the open rate that you're getting, which I think you alluded to being 70%. I think that was what, like, am I right in saying that it's pretty, your open rate is pretty good?
Yeah. So what happens, and people have to think about social media too. So Facebook considered social media. So it's called interrupt marketing. So you're on, people are scrolling through their phone on their Facebook, and they're looking at the dancing cats and the laughing babies and whatnot. And then they see, boom, there's your ad. And it's interrupt marketing. So they aren't expecting that ad when they see it. So there's a way to be able to break through, create something, whether it's like for me in the beginning, it was a video. And what I teach on the hitting side is we say it's human movement principles that are validated by science to hitting a ball. And in this industry, science really isn't it's a forethought. It's more of opinion. It's, I learned from so-and-so, or I read so-and-so's book, and the so-and-so generally tends to be in the baseball silo of knowledge or the softball silo of knowledge, and there's no science to it. So when I started, people weren't, this wasn't even on the radar, science and baseball, putting it together. So I had done a video that was, add 40 feet to your batted ball distance. And I said instantly, I got in trouble with Facebook the first year, because they don't like those kind of words, instantly, even though it is true, because I did a swing experiment where I took 100 swings and compared doing it one way, and then 100 swings doing it the opposite way, and showed with data and numbers that this was actually true. So this specific technique, right? Hitting technique. So that was the video, and that's what exploded. So you're asking about stickiness and getting that in, and hopefully some out there that are listening to this are thinking about, in their own industry, in their own niche, what they can put out there that is almost like an instant, where your customer or your prospect gets instant results in whatever it is that you do, right? And then once you can give that for free, that one thing doesn't have to be your whole system. And I would recommend not doing your whole system, selling that part of it, but giving them a little piece that gives them an instant win. They will share that. And that's what was happening. People were sharing it, and it was being shared on social media, being shared on email. It was being shared all over the place, that video, but I was getting their emails every single time. And it was it was greasing the chute, making it easy for those people to do it. And then I had follow-up autoresponders in the back end that were ushering people through. So you want to make sure you have the funnel set up in a way that is not too salesy, but has some nurturing as they come in, so that you're not like, oh, they just sign up for your thing, and then you say, hey, let's buy my $100 product or my $100 service right away. So you want to make sure you're nurturing them for a period of time, whether that's a week or 2 weeks. In your industry out there, you guys are listening, whatever that looks like, but you want to nurture a little bit. And I've learned that over the last year or two, is to nurture a little bit more. We've actually redone some of our email autoresponders to make it to where it's more nurturing, because a lot of people like me are jumping on board now and trying to sell people on the same thing, and they're going right into the sale. So then you set yourself apart by building the relationship. But the relationship part of it, that's what makes it sticky, is you have to picture yourself like you're trying to create a relationship with that person.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my own stuff that we send out. And, I do 2 different podcasts. I do the Entrepreneur MBA podcast, and I do the nonprofit MBA podcast for nonprofits, because that's one of our clients too. I'm awfully disappointed. Like I pick and choose which podcasts I email out. And so, maybe I send one out every 3 weeks, right? But I do 3 podcasts a week, right, for each episode. So maybe 2 or 3 for each episode. And when I look at the numbers of, I get about a 15% open rate, and the idea behind our podcast is we really don't send much else out through email. Maybe once a quarter, I'll send out an email saying, hey, if you're looking for a line of credit, or, I don't say it like that, but
yeah,
I'll do that. So it's pretty rare. And then we have a drip campaign where every 3 months, for someone who's qualified for a line of credit who doesn't get it set up, then an automatic email goes out every 90 days to 3 months. So 90 days to 120 days. But I'm shocked that the material that I send out for the podcast, gets a 15% open rate. And so it's, it sounds like I think that, did you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were getting a 70%?
No. So what it is I think 70, 80, 90% on instant messenger for Facebook. So if you send out that kind of thing. So email, you're about right in the average sweet spot.
So that's normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my open rates on the hitting side of things they can be depends on the email, but you got to think about your emails too, on what segment of your list you're targeting, right? So for me in hitting, and people out there can think about their own industry and their own niche.
Yeah, these are people who registered already.
Right.
I mean, so they didn't register for the nonprofit. They registered for a line of credit.
Right.
And they filled out an application. So, it's not a cold email.
No, right? Exactly. It's a warmer email, which is good. So mine run between, if I do a salesy email, could be 8% open rate, and then more of a content email where there's not selling, might be more of a 15%, 12-15%. So, and it also depends on the numbers. So if you have a couple hundred people on your list, 15 is low. You're going to see more 30-40%. But then as your numbers grow, you start going thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Then now you're going to come down to around that 12 to 15% with a good open rate. So part of the open rates are subject lines. I don't know if do you test your subject lines at all?
No, Listen, A/B testing is really important. I mean, you're an SEO guy, you know it is.
Yeah.
I don't really do a great job in A/B testing in anything, regardless if it's SEO or email or anything like that. Like for today's podcast, which today's I would probably send out because I think that people are very interested in it.
Yep.
The subject line would be how to grow an email list from thousands to hundreds of thousands. That would be the subject line.
Right. So what I would do, so that's a really good headline, by the way. The subject line, you want it to be smaller. You're talking about, I try and 3 to 5 words max in there because people looking at it on their phone may not see the full subject line, right? It might not reveal the whole thing.
I wouldn't say the how to. I would just I take that out. But you're right. So so your suggestion is to only go for a few,
like
words.
grow email list from number to number, right? X to Y. That's what I would say.
So that's good advice.
Yeah. So keeping a shorter, punchier lines. I can send you something after this. I can send you, I think it's digitalmarketer.com, and they have a whole thing of different subject lines that you can try. And they're talking about digital marketing and marketing in general, but you can fit it to fit your own, what you're trying to do, right? And then just start testing those subject lines, and what you'll find that your open rate will start to increase. And what you want with the body of your email is you want the body of the email to get the click through, right? So you have open rate and then you have click through rate. And so your open rate, if it's 15%, and then your click through rate might be 2%, right? So the body of the email needs to sell the click, needs to get them to click through and listen to the podcast or take the next action on the application, right? So you don't want to sell the email's not supposed to sell them. The body of the email is not supposed to sell them. It's just to get them to click to and see what you have for them. And then the body of your page, the podcast page or application video, if you're doing a video or something like that with content, that sells them on what you're trying to do. But the open rate is get the eyeball, get the attention, and develop a little bit of interest. Then the body of the email is going to give them the interest and then the desire to click through, right? The AIDA, the AIDA, right? Call to action, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I would try that. I would try some testing if you can. I don't know if your email provider, whoever you use, if you can do split tests like with the subject lines.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah.
Or you can just send, send
half and half.
Yeah. You can send half a list with the one subject line and with subject line A, and then the half of the list with subject line B, right? Just do 2 different ones and then just compare the 2 open rates.
Yeah, I had the objectives I had with the emails that were going out was I didn't want to send out an email like every month or whatever about getting a line of credit. I said, okay, let me. That's not the purpose of why we did the podcast, but the pod. So I said, okay, let me send the podcast out, and then below the podcast is, the fact that we provide a line of credit, right? And then below that is every episode of the past podcasts that we did. Because we've done, like I said, about 70 podcasts, and I've always said this: if you are growing a business, all you need to do is listen to the experts or guests that I bring on to these podcasts. If you listen to that, every single one of those podcasts, you are going to be really, really good at running a business. Because running a business, no one teaches you. You got to learn it on your own,
right?
And so anyway, that's the thought process behind it. It was kind of keep your name in front of them, give them something of value. And it's not, my company's doing very well, so it's not, but we can't really tie back results for how many deals we've closed, because of the email campaign or, because they saw us again and again and again. It would be almost impossible for us to do that. I can see open rates and I can see those type of things. But then certainly, the other third objective was, they would forwarding that information over to somebody else, another entrepreneur or another nonprofit, So, I mean, what's your comments on those type of things?
So on lines of credit, or on the on the people that come on your podcast, do you have a lot of people who have used lines of credit, or you have helped? Like, do you have
No,
case studies?
they're all entrepreneurs mostly who've built their companies. So they're or on the nonprofit side,
Mm-hmm.
people who are consulting with nonprofits. So these are all successful people who have built their own companies.
Right.
And they're talking about something that they care about.
Right. Do you have case studies? Have you gone on maybe podcasts with some of your clients, case studies that you can use, and you can email those out? So those are interesting things, like whether it's testimonials, you go to Amazon and you go to buy a book, and first thing I go to is I look for Amazon reviews and I filter all the products by, at least 4 stars, So testimonials, case studies, that's even in the search engine optimization business. People want to know, are you successful in what you're doing? And can I see you talk with clients that are doing that? So I think it's great that you're sending out the podcast to your list. I think adding some case studies and testimonials of past clients or current clients that are okay with that. And all you have to do is just get them on a call like this, talk for 20, 30 minutes and just asking them questions about how this helped, what were the issues, the pain points early on, right? Because a lot of these business owners that are looking for that line of credit, especially right now with all the SBA things going on, some people aren't even getting money. And, I think getting a line of credit for a business is huge. Like you said, getting it before you actually need it, because it's almost like when you need it, you can't get it. When you don't need it, you can get it. That's the way the banks seem to work. Right. So, just giving people an idea of forethought and having that, and doesn't mean you have to use it, but it's just, you have it in just in case. And this is a great time. Like I said, this is a great time for business lines of credit, just because of the environment we've been in the last couple of years. So people definitely need it. But then it's saying, okay, well, what does that process look like for a business owner? And a great way, again, to do that is case study. You just case study, bring somebody on with you. And I'm sure you got plenty of those, and you probably have a lot of those. And then you have, not everyone is going to want to get on with you and talk about it. And you're going to have a percentage of those that will. And all you need is probably 3, 4, 5, or half a dozen of those. And then you just send those out. Maybe you do one of those a month, or 2 of those a month. And that's just another one that you can send out for on the case studies. That's just an idea.
Yeah. This is a tad off subject, but since I know you're extensively involved with SEO, do you think Google? So for our listeners, Google looks at 200 different things to determine how they're going to rank your website or how they're going to rank your pages. Do you think one of those 200 things is Google reviews themselves? So is it?
I would say 1 of 10. So there's 200 things that you can do. And the only relevancy to the sheer number, because that can really overwhelm people. The only relevancy to that is if you're in a super competitive niche. So a good example, if we're talking plumbers, a plumber.
Well, we're very competitive. It's our niche is
financial. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, but you're not going to have to use all 200 of those, and you may not even need to use 20 of those. But there's a top 10 that need to be used, and the easy low-hanging fruit ones are number 1, making sure the keywords, whether it's a 2 to 3 keyword combo, are captures what you're doing. So credit, business credit, right? Lines of business credit, or whatever those keywords would be. I haven't researched that yet. But you find that keyword, and then that shows up in your title tag in your website, right? Your title, your description, your header 1s, 2s, and 3s. And so you have that showing up, so Google knows what your site is about, and that it knows to rank it. And then you have some backlinking, and you have some other things. Google just recently, over the last couple months, really put a premium on site speed, site load speed. And mobile friendly has always been a thing with Google. You want to make sure site's mobile friendly, but getting your site what's called AMP, AMP, accelerated mobile page. I don't know if you've heard of that, Stephen.
We use it.
Yeah. Oh, you use it. Okay. So
yeah, we're really, our number 1 lead generation system is SEO. So we're extensively, and we've been doing it for a long time. But
yep, good.
But just to go back to my original question, so you were shaking your head, yes. and that is Google reviews. So if you have a lot more Google reviews, you think that does affect search it. Because the thing that, I do quite often, because I think part of I think it's very important for people who are looking for credibility in a company that we have a lot of Google reviews. So often I'll go back through our clients and I will ask them to give us a review as long as they're willing to give us a 5-star, right? And if they're not, then I want to know what we can do to fix it. But I honestly don't get those issues. Our clients are really happy, but so I was just kind of curious so for our listeners out there, it's a little bit off topic, but you should be. No one just goes out there and gives you a review. It's pretty rare. And in fact, if they do go out and do your review, the only people who give you reviews are the ones that are going to complain. So, you kind of got to get out there. And I learned this 15 years ago, or longer than that, 30 years ago, when I was working for Xerox, where, Xerox would send these surveys out, and part of our compensation was how much clients gave you positive reviews. And so we would go to our clients before the surveys were mailed out, and we would say hey, you're going to get this survey. Can I ask, are we doing a great job right now? Are we doing a good job? Are we doing a bad job for you? And that way you would get ahead of the game. And also you would ask them if they're really, really happy, so that when they got the survey, you'd say to them, could you please fill it out for us and put on there what you're telling me.
Right.
So that way, because otherwise you'd get the one person who says, they weren't happy with the company. And then, and then the other people wouldn't respond, and so this is, something, but,
yeah, you're right. And also too, you got to think about people use discernment. They're pretty good about that, I think, for the most part. So one of the things that we talk to clients about and friends and that are in business on Amazon, if you're looking for a good product to either sell yourself or just to buy, don't look at just the 5 stars and the 1 stars. Right. Those are the ones, like you said, you got the complainers those are the hot emotional ones. If you're maybe making a product, it's good to look at just those ones, because you can get an idea of what the what the dysfunction of the product is, and then what people don't like above everything else, and what they really do like, but people are pretty good about discerning when they're going to go in on a service or they're going to buy a product, about looking at different things. And so that's why some people out there, hopefully people out there, are giving a good service and giving a good product, a good quality service. So but like you said, there's going to be some negative responses out there. That's why I think having a potpourri of different things, having case studies up, those stars are good, but being able to testimonials, actual written testimonials, maybe with a picture if you can, with the email, all that kind of stuff with the customer's name, because people will discern. They'll look at say if you got an average 3.5 star on Google reviews or something, or Yelp or whatever it is, they'll see that and they might, but then if you got a bunch of testimonials that are from customers, and then you have case studies, actual video case studies or audio case studies, they're gonna listen to that stuff. If they, if you got a pretty good product, they can see from the front face it's a good product, but the only thing that's bad are a couple of these reviews. People are, I think, pretty discerning about that.
You've mentioned them are time videos. I had a guest on one of my podcasts, and he mentioned 2 companies. One was called Loom, LLOM. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. And it was, I'm looking into it now. I love video because I happen to be a visual learner. So for me, video is kind of important. And for those of you who are out there, you should know that YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. So, and it's because people like me. I mean, I if I want to learn something, I go right to YouTube.
Yep.
But so Loom, for those of you who are out there, and this does relate to email, is the ability to really put video into your emails, or to describe like a proposal. That's how we want to kind of use it when we send out our offer letter to our line of credit. We want to embed, someone talking about all the details in regards to the line of credit, questions that are asked
Mhm.
that we can answer for them. So when you are putting videos into your emails, are you doing it through like YouTube? Are you using a product like Loom? What are you doing?
Well, a really easy one for people, if maybe some are out there sensitive to cost or what, I don't know, YouTube's doesn't cost anything, but some of
Yeah.
these other ones, they're really good. Loom, and they do some cool stuff. But what you can do is you can create people are familiar with the Giphies, right? The moving Giphies, the memes that are out there. Well, you can create just a 4 to 5 second video of your video, and then you can hire somebody. If people out there listening aren't tech inclined, you can hire somebody on Fiverr to do this for you. But then have in big red letters, click to play, and have an arrow that's pushing down in the center with the play button there, right? So you got the video that's looping, 4 or 5 second video that's looping, and you don't want any more than that seconds wise, because then it makes it load slower. So you want to do 4 to 5 seconds looping video. Try and clip a part of the video where, because they're not going to have the sound. There's going to be no sound. They're just going to see it. So where people are going like, they're doing stuff with their hands or you can put something in the video that makes it attention grabbing, so that they go, what is he doing? Or what is she doing? And then they click to go over. So that is really effective. I do that on most of my emails that go out, because you catch people's attention, and it's just a looping GIF.
Do you work with a graphic designer to do that stuff, or you do it yourself?
So if it's really like that, I can do myself. I can do that pretty quickly, but I know some out there. I remember being on that side where I wasn't very good at that kind of stuff, and it would take me hours to do, or like you said, go on YouTube and you kind of figure it out and that kind of thing. But Fiverr is great for that. I do have a graphic designer now that can do that kind of stuff, and she does it in her sleep. I mean, what would take somebody at 30 minutes to put together, she can do it like in a couple minutes. So it's worth sometimes to pay the money, especially if you have a schedule of these posts going out, these email posts, and you have maybe 4, 5, 6 videos that you're going to have scheduled out. Then you can have them do it, and they can do it within 20, 30 minutes, and it's all done. And you pay them whatever, $16 or $20.
My issue is not like that stuff like, we can do. I just, I don't always like the quality of what we do with it. I want it to look a little more professional.
Of course.
And so that's the reason I was asking is, do you use your graphic designer for this because they can just do it at a higher quality fashion than what you can do, because that's their job.
Yep.
So
if that's your industry, right? So when I talk about hitting, we're talking about parents, team coaches, and instructors, and they're very savage, caveman like. So yeah, you can do something. It almost is like the very sophisticated drives them away. When it's super polished, it drives them away. They think you're trying, because it's like that. Easton and Louisville. It's like the big companies are like that. And so they're very eerie, get a little skittish when they see that. But in the financial industry, in the real estate industry, professional, when you want it to be professional, polished, and that whole thing, because that's where your credibility comes from. So I agree totally.
Yeah. So we have a couple of minutes left. So any other advice that you have from going from, thousands to hundreds of thousands? I mean, is email your biggest lead generator?
Yeah, email is my favorite. And I just actually talked with a fellow coach who's putting together a product and things like that. And he's got his product done, and he's getting ready to go to market with it. And he was asking me what to start with. And I told him, email needs to be your main or your core operating system. That is at the center of everything. And then everything else out. So whether it's social media, whether it's Facebook ads, whatever it is that you're driving eyeballs to that post that has that, what they call a Johnson box, is where people opt in, right? So that's all pushing into that email, because you need that email in order to communicate with people and share your products or your services with them. So my loose outline of what I would do is social media is a constant drumbeat. So you constantly want to be putting stuff up on Facebook, and then, or any of them using Hootsuite. You can schedule out and you can link it to all your different social media sites, Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But it has to be a constant drumbeat. If it's 4 posts a day or 3 posts a day or 5 posts a day, stick to that, have different posts. And you definitely want to have people going to your site more often. And on your site, when they land there, you have an option for them to opt into your email, whatever it is. So if you're giving them a free report about how to do XYZ, make sure it's super juicy. Make sure it's a small sliver of your whole system, but it is a big part of your system, so that people go, wow, Stephen really crushed it with this. Like, I was able to, in the business line of credit thing, if it's cleaning up your credit, if it's, there's so many different aspects to that you can give them up front as a freebie so that you earn their trust. And then once you got that, then you can start moving down your email sequences into other things, right? But you can do that like I did with Facebook ads, is drive eyeballs to a specific ad that promises how to do XYZ. Once you get them in there, and that could be about a 50% conversion rate. That's what I was getting, at least 50% conversion at that page, driving them from cold traffic, interrupt marketing from Facebook to that page. I was getting about a 50+% conversion rate on that. Then that's the email that I'm getting. And then from there, then you do your nurture sequence, where just picture yourself as you're trying to almost white glove their experience through your company and your service, and leading them with information. And hey, if you need any help with this, if you need any questions, I can answer. Great book to check out. I read it about 4 or 5 months ago, is how to never lose a customer again. And the guy's name is Joey Coleman, or Joe Coleman. And awesome book. And it teaches you that whole sequence. I would, for those out there who are super busy, don't want to read that whole book, do audio, right? 2 times audio, or get the Cliff Notes. Find out where you can get the Cliff Notes. I have those. And that's when we started going through our email sequences and redoing those to more of a nurturing style. And then, we get into a soft close towards the end of that as we're doing, instead of like a upfront hard close. So that's what I would recommend, doing the Facebook ads, driving them to how to do XYZ, and then on the back end, on the email side, nurture, and then soft close into getting them into your product or service. But there's a lot of cool ways that Joe Coleman goes through in that book, Never Lose a Customer Again. That is really cool. It opens your eyes to that whole, and that's, referral is one of the best things you can do, and that's a big part of it. It doesn't cost you anything for people to refer clients. So that's my suggestion.
Good stuff. I that's all the time we have for today.
Yep.
I just want to comment. I know those of you who listen to this podcast often, we have thousands of people that are listening to it, every single one. So it's great. That I'm a huge proponent of the number one thing that almost every business needs to do is have a lead generation system.
Mm-hmm.
You'll just never reach that $10 million mark if you are just not really having that down to a science. And you can see Joey, he's spending at least 50% of his time in lead generation services. Mm-hmm. Really working on, I'm talking about for his company, right? Mm-hmm. For driving leads, knowing where everything's coming from. I can always tell because they know where everything's working. They know how the leads are being generated. They know the flow. They need the numbers. Mm-hmm. So I think Joey is a good example of what I really believe. I believe a business is made or fails based on its quote unquote marketing, and mm-hmm. I call that lead generation. So good stuff. Thanks, learned
Stephen.
A lot today. I'd very much like to thank Joey Meyer from Lead Generation SEO Services for coming on today's podcast. If you like today's podcast, please feel free to share it with a friend. And also subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. And of course, if you're looking for a line of credit for your business, you can call us at 862-207-4118 or visit our website at fscreditline.com. Joey, if anyone wants to reach you, how would they go about doing that?
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, so they can go to Lead Generation SEO services.com, and that SEO is for search engine optimization. And if you're interested in SEO, we have a free SEO audit that you can just put your company or your URL into, and it'll email that to you. So you don't have to worry about us kicking it out. It's all emailed to you. If you want to take a next step and you want to see how it looks to do business with us in SEO, then we can schedule a 30 to 60 minute demo, and it's all free, and we'll try and see if we can fix some of the low hanging fruit beforehand, and no cost to that. And if you want to take the next step and say, okay, hey, I'm sold, I want to sign up, I love what it looks like to do business with you, we have a $200 off coupon for that first month and a $300 coupon off for the first month for our two plans. So if you want to take that next step, get you in. SEO generally is a longer term play. So we're looking at, and it's not just because, we want you on for 4 to 6 months, but it's going to take 4 to 6 months to get some traction depending on where you're at. If you've done a bunch of SEO work, you're going to be farther along in that, and your site is older and more seasoned. But it'll depend. But it's more of a long-term play, and you have to think about SEO in that term. It's the foundation of the house, and you want to make sure you have that foundation poured, and you have that solid part of the leads coming in from organic search. And then when you add Facebook ads, and then you got your email marketing, that's all extra coming in. So we're, like Steven said, you want to have a solid, repeatable lead generation process when you have your business or you don't have a business. So thank you. So all social media, just search lead generation SEO services. But thanks, Steven.
Yeah, sounds good. So if our listeners are listening, are interested in getting any new business ideas, I tweet daily about lessons for business owners at S Halasnik. That's my name, S as in Steve, HALASNIK. All of you, thank you for listening, and have a fantastic day.